The MoneroTopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Exolix, a privacy-focused, non-custodial instant crypto exchange. Go to exolix.com to enjoy secure and completely anonymous swaps with no KYC or sign-up. Swap between Monero and 2,000 plus assets at the most competitive rates and with no limits. Exolix.com, your fast and secure way to privacy.
GM again.
Good morning. I still don't see any XMR chats coming in. Guys, give it a test. Send an xmrchat.com/MoneroTopia.
You know, it would help
please.
if there was a date. If there was like a date and a time. Because when I'm on here, I'm looking at the XMR chats, but I don't see dates and time. So I don't know. In some cases, I don't know if we've missed one or if it's an old one.
That's a good point. Date and time. I like that. I will add that as well. Somebody's asking, where is Sunita? Sunita is doing more important things right now. Family stuff. Good family stuff. Positive family stuff. She's focused on a family project right now.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Yeah, take it away. Do your thing. I'm going to tell Fiat Demise about your ideas here for XMR chat.
Yeah. So, congratulations to everybody. We broke out of the stablecoin range finally at long last.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah. Let's see. Can we do a little? Hang on. Oh, I guess I had it muted. I was going to do a little sound
effect.
A little clappy clap. Anyways, yeah. So we pumped up to about 220. Maybe technically that would be 217. Interesting enough, this is again the power of the wave magic. You can see that where did we hit? We hit right smack dab in the middle of these upper standard deviations, right? The same standard deviations that were formed from the last bull market. So we're on the weekly candles right now. At the bottom, you can see that we have the volume. So this happened with volume buying on Kraken. Let's see, that would be 108,000 Monero. Yeah, so this week about 180,000 Monero were purchased on Kraken, looks like. So yeah, congratulations again, everybody. Let's go down to the daily and take a look at what this looks like. Currently, it looks like we're forming a little bit of consolidation, right? We pumped up there. And again, these blue lines, you can see them more clearly now. But these are the upper standard deviations right here. Yeah, you can see these are the upper standard deviations. That's basically, we wicked right into those. Typically on bullish action and in bull markets, what you're going to expect is to actually, I feel like this bullish action per the chart, per technical analysis, this shouldn't be over yet. We should get in here for some period of time, maybe even kind of beat them. And then, we might require some kind of pullback after that before coming back to the upside. Obviously, that's going to depend on what's happening with the rest of the crypto market, if the bull run continues and for how long it might continue. At this point, I'll tell you about it a little bit later, but I really am entertaining the possibility that we get a blow off top much sooner than anyone expects. That's kind of what happened last cycle too. No one expected that April would be the top. And okay, it wasn't the perfect top, but once you take into account inflation and all the M2 money they printed, it kind of was the top, right? But that's, we'll quibble about that some other time. But yeah, we very, very cleanly finally broke out of this range that we had been in for such a long time. So yeah, that's pretty good. You can see on the shorter term, you could just barely see it. Maybe we could zoom in even more. You could just barely see that these standard deviation lines are starting to curl up. So that will also be good wave magic price action. Ultimately, we want to see them, kind of do this number. We might see the price kind of do this, right? And then sort of bounce around like that for a while. I would say most likely, guys, I would expect Monero to not really beat the 220 range, maybe the 230 range. I wouldn't expect it to really beat that by too much. For some period of time here, probably for the rest of December, maybe even going into January. Just knowing the way that, price action has unfolded for Monero and that it's, all the other shit coins, guys, they're pumping like 200%, 300%. And we've got like 30%. We're celebrating 30%. So, even just that, so let me paint a little picture to kind of show this wave magic, the standard deviation, multiple standard deviation concepts and the overlapping bands. and I've told you guys this before, it's kind of a psychological map. In a way, I look at it, and it's sort of the intuitive statistics that the aggregate market is sort of computing in their brains. Because people intuitively know when something is trending. They even do these card tricks, not card tricks, but like they've done this experiment where they have a loaded deck, and in one case it's loaded slightly in your favor. Let's just say like 55% in your favor. And then the other deck, it's loaded slightly against you, like 45% against you. And you're playing with real money. And it's like, it's an experiment. And when the deck is loaded slightly against you, even after just like 5 cards or like 7 cards or some very small amount, your palms start to get sweaty. You start to show signs of stress. It actually comes across in in all your physiological cues. And so your body, like your brain already intuits that the deck is stacked against you. And so in aggregate, humans are very good statistical machines when you look at sort of the averages across everybody. And so for us, the point here is that for us, we're looking at these standard deviations, this kind of range-bound action that we've had for so long, right? For like 2 years now, we've just been basically range-bound, except for some really shitty drops below it because of, fuckery. And then we finally pumped outside of it. And so it's like, even though we only have a 30% pump, for us, that's huge because we've been so range-bound by these standard deviations for so long that even pumping only 30% for us feels like quite the pump. So that's just when we talk about these overlapping bands and why they're important, one of the big reasons is psychology and the way that psychology works in aggregate. So Monero's doing good. We've had a comeback on the little bit of a comeback on the ratio to Bitcoin. I wouldn't exactly call this good price action. It still doesn't look great, and any further pumps of Bitcoin are obviously gonna have a negative effect on this. At the moment, this chart still doesn't look good. Who knows? Maybe, right? I'm trying to predict the future here. I don't really know. Maybe Monero pumps immediately to like the next major level. I guess that could happen. Or maybe Bitcoin takes some long period of time to maybe it takes a long period of time to actually really start making new gains. Maybe it needs to consolidate more. We actually broke 100K as of, was it like Thursday maybe? I think it was Thursday. Let's check it out here. We actually broke 100K on, we're on the weekly. No wonder. Looking like a idiot here on stream. Oh, we're gonna take a look at the regression analysis as well. So that would be Thursday. Okay, the coin finally broke 100K on Thursday, and we're basically sitting right at 100K at the moment. So, this thing still might need some time to consolidate. I don't know. Let's check Monero really quick, make sure we don't have anything else too important that needs to be covered. Monero versus gold, we kind of broke out of that range as well. The Monero versus gold chart, it actually looks pretty good. Like you would basically expect Monero to eventually make its way to this very large standard deviation band here at some point. So this chart looks bullish, although that's a single green dildo for the week. So we're on the weekly here. That's a single green dildo. Usually, typically with price action that's going to be sustainably bullish, you want to see you want to see a big break, and then you want to see some consolidation, not for too long, and then you want to see another break and some consolidation, and you want to stair step your way up. That's the way to do it. When you see pumps that just go God candle to the moon, in a lot of cases, that's just not going to be sustainable price action. Typically, sometimes it can be. Sometimes it's possible for that to happen if you're in a protracted, extended bull market, and you have all the right pumpamental factors involved. But I couldn't really tell you that Monero has the pumpamental factors involved. So let's divert here to the privacy coins really quick, and then we'll go take a look at Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market. We can talk about Haktua and how she rugged her followers. Xano finally broke out. It had a little bit of consolidation. The rest of the crypto market was pumping for a period of time. But then, Xano, as of the past week, let's go backwards here. There we go. As of the past week, Xano has pumped 50%. So congratulations again to all those who have bought Xano here. And especially if you bought down here. I mean, holy shit, that's a 5X. You can't complain about a 5X, right? If you put even a reasonably small amount of your, let's suppose you put 2% of your net worth into Xano, that's 10% of your net worth now, right? Or of your net investable, we should call it. So that's, this is what you're starting to get to the point in this chart where gains from here on out are just going to like really, really serve you in a big way. So, yeah, Xano's looking good, guys. Who knows how far this thing can run? Probably for a while. Let's see if I can give you any good wave magic levels. Got to go into the shorter time frames. Okay, yeah. To me, it looks like. I mean, it's hard to say. Like when things really start pumping, wave magic can't help you anymore. When you get really, really, especially on a new coin like Xano, right? So Xano doesn't have a very large price history behind it. Like we could probably take a look at Ripple, and I can probably show you some pretty good wave magic levels on Ripple because it has had a long history where the price has been much higher in the past. So it's easy for us to sort of like look at particular levels. With Xano, it's a newer coin, so it's in this range. You can see the very top of the purple bands here. These purple bands are curling up. Typically, guys, what I would see on this kind of action is there's gonna be some level top out here, and then it's gonna have to come back down and tag like these purple bands or something like that. It'll have to do that. But what you'll see is it'll continue to ride up. What I'm getting at is that there might be a little bit of a long game to play here. Xano has had quite the pump as of the past few days. I'm not saying it's done pumping, but it could be time for a little bit of a pullback here. But I mean, ultimately, the problem is that if you want to play the pullbacks in a bull market, you often just get left behind, right? So just be careful about that when you're in a bull market and everything's pumping. You often get left behind. Typically, your better strategy is just to hodl until you're like, okay, I have made life-changing gains. It's time for me to take profit. In fact, you know what? Let's diverge here. I made a tweet. A few days ago, and it's basically to the effect that if you make life-changing money on this run, you need to get out. Go to you don't have. There were commenters like, "Oh, fiat is just dying, bro." Okay, whatever, man. Then get into gold, buy a piece of property, pay off debt, right? Pay off your mortgage. Like if you've made life-changing money that is actually going to change the way you live your life, change your quality of life, change your lifestyle, then you need to sell because it is far greater. The pain of losing life-changing money is far greater than the pain of missing out on life-changing money times 2 or times 3, right? So that's like, it's just one of those things that I've done it. I have far too many friends that have done it. I'm going to show you the tweet here. Yeah, this is the tweet. I have far too many friends that have done it. They had life-changing money in hand in their 20s. And they let it slip by because they got greedy. They got euphoric and greedy, and they didn't sell. It's a very important lesson. There are some minor caveats that's like, okay, there's a time to sell, there's a time to not sell. In almost all cases, the time to sell is sooner than you think. And so this is kind of like the 80% metaphoric truth that hopefully will produce the right action. There will be cases where it's like you've made life-changing money, but the chart and the asset or whatever has more to run. And you're like, okay, I could sell now. This chart is very likely has more to run. That's a neutral assessment. It's not an emotional, euphoric, greed kind of assessment. It's just like the most likely thing to happen. Okay. If you can truly say that you have made an emotionless decision about that and say, okay, this is likely to run higher and I have life-changing money in hand, but I can probably get a little bit more out of it. Okay. That's one thing. And certainly, certainly I've done that. But just know that the more that you see people reacting negatively, like, okay, so let's just hypothetically say that I'm top calling and everyone in unison in Twitter is telling me that I'm a retard. That's great. That's what I want to hear, right? At the top, I want everyone to tell me that I'm wrong because that's actually just yet another sign that's probably, that's probably true. So anyways, it's a very long form way of just saying, if you make life-changing money, guys, get out. Trust me. You will thank me later.
In the stock market. When I
Say
first
what?
got into it, I got into the stock market right out of high school, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was listening to some guy, and he told me to buy. I bought a bunch of calls for like Nvidia, AMD, and they all made so much fucking money, like they 2-3x'd. But I didn't pull out soon enough, and I lost most of it.
Yeah, but you could lose everything if you don't pull out soon enough.
As those calls get close to the expiry, they rapidly lose the value.
Yeah. Things, I mean, it's a lesson that I think all of us kind of have to learn at least once. It's like if that was you, don't feel bad. I did it. Most of my friends have done it. You do it the first time, and then you learn the time value of money. You're like, shit, when's the next opportunity that I'm going to get that's going to happen like this. You might have to wait 3, 4, 5 years in some cases. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's yeah, it's powerful, and it's just
It
like
wasn't even. I wouldn't say it was even life-changing money, but for me at the time, being as young as I was, it was a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, straight out of high school, I mean, if you like, if it was enough money to buy a house or buy a condo straight out of high school, that's a big deal. That's a big fucking deal. All right, so we got Firo in front of us. Firo has actually pumped quite well as well. I don't know which of you bros are buying Firo, but you're up 50%, 60%. That looks pretty nice. We're sitting here at resistance. In fact, a lot of coins, even the altcoins, are kind of sitting at resistance. That doesn't mean they can't go higher, but I've noticed they've kind of trailed off as of the past few days. This is again exactly where you would expect to find some resistance at the upper standard deviations. In a way, there's kind of all these blue bands that are really close to each other, so you might actually like put the circle like this. But at any rate, if you're sitting here in Firo and you see a wick, into this area, I'm selling, right? Like if I'm holding Firo and I see a wick into this area, I'm selling. I'm saying, all right, that's good enough for now. If I want to hold this for a long term, I would sell up here, and then I would think, okay, let's get a pullback to this area, maybe even to the moving average clusters, right? Those white bands there. Anyway, so yeah, that's Firo. Firo's doing good as well. Pirate Chain has had their pump. They actually kind of pumped early, and then they just kind of have trailed off here. Maybe they've got another opportunity coming up to smash up to the purple band here. Seems like a real possibility. That would be a 2x from where it is currently. Yeah, it's kind of weird to me seeing these coins. Firo, no one I don't know if anyone's really using Firo. I never hear anyone talk about Firo, and yet they pumped 50%. And we got
yeah, I think I own a
30%.
tiny amount of Firo. I don't even remember what it was supposed to do though.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I feel like they were kind of a research chain in a lot of ways. They were doing a lot of research, and it seemed like the guys were really truly dedicated to doing research, like cryptography research and trying to innovate. But it didn't feel like they were really dedicated towards making something that they wanted to really be taken seriously as money and geared as money. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't do enough marketing, or who knows. But yeah, I mean, there's no disrespect towards those guys, like I kind of have towards Zcash here, because they're the corporate coin or whatever. I mean, Zcash. Okay, so Zcash is pumped. Zcash made 130%. Like, okay, cool. Looks like this thing.
Yeah, in terms of Firo, just to jump in for a second. Yeah, they, what they were doing that was interesting was they were kind of on the cutting edge with Seraphis, or I forget what their version of it was called, which Monero is no longer implementing, right? We're implementing full chain membership proofs. But they were really on the cutting edge with that and some other kind of privacy tech.
What was it Spark?
Right, or Atlantis Spark, right? And it was worked on with other Monero people as well. And so the idea was that Monero was going to kind of be learning and borrowing that technology. So I think that's kind of where they were really popping up.
Let's see. Do we have any super chats? XMR chats we need to cover?
Oh yeah, that's another. I think, guys, please send them to xmrchat.com/MoneroTalk instead. I think that's the one that's connected. I apologize for confusing everybody.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna have to figure out how to easily switch back between the two. I don't know, Tux, do you know how to do that on the Twitch?
I don't have access to that.
Okay. Yeah, we'll figure it out moving forward. But for now, xmrchat.com/MoneroTalk should be working and connected here.
Okay.
Apologies, guys, because I saw other people had sent to MoneroTopia, but I can't pull them up live.
We have one here from Alaska Anon that says, I hope people will take what Body is saying seriously about not getting greedy in these markets. Sometimes a person should take a little gains while climbing if they have already done well. Take small amounts off the table and use it to reduce your risk. Yeah, that's another way to do it. There's a lot of ways to do it. My personal strategy has basically been to hold, hodl, and then sell.
Well, here's a practical question though, buddy. Like how do I think I had asked you this in the past though, but it could be another good time to kind of give advice. How do you take your gains, right? Like, are you saying using it like in like what exchanges, and are you moving into like a stable coin, or what's your advice there, right? Kind of like the how.
Yeah, it
How should
depends on
people be taking the profits?
it depends on which platforms you're using, which coins you're holding, the kind of degeneracy you're participating in. I personally really like selling crypto directly into gold. Right, we all want to put our money where our ideological mouth is. So going from crypto directly into gold is doable. There's quite a number of exchanges that allow you to do that. If you're holding an ERC20 or a TRC, you know, like a Tron token or Sol or whatever, you might just sell directly into Tether. You can even sell into PaxG, right? PaxG is a gold-backed token that exists on top of Ethereum. You can hypothetically, you know, play into some other coin. Obviously, you could just take those gains into Monero as well and say, hey, Monero has a more stable price. It does better in bear markets than the other coins have. So you could do that as well. I feel like there's a good reason to always have a hodl, right? Like, I would pretty much never recommend selling all of your crypto. Like, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying sell everything, particularly if you're playing in the shitcoin markets. If you're in XRP and you just got a 10x or whatever the hell it did, like, you should be thinking about taking profits. And the more responsible way is probably to take profits on the way up. One of the big things I say to people as well is, like, if you have solid gains that aren't quite life-changing just yet, you might take your initial investment off the table times 2. Because if you take your initial investment off the table times 2 into anything, it doesn't matter, gold, stable coin, fiat, right? You could sell through fiat. Like, all of us have to spend fiat. Like, okay, you can live without it almost kind of if you buy gift cards, but then that's still basically kind of fiat. Anyways, the point is that, you know, life comes at you and you need fiat. So, like, there's no shame in selling crypto for fiat to live your life or to buy a house, right? To pay off your debt. All of these are the kinds of things that you could do with life-changing gains or changing gains, right? You get rid of your crippling debt, you pay off that mortgage, maybe you've got a high interest rate or something, and now you don't have a mortgage payment, right? Now you don't have to pay rent effectively, except for, you know, to the city for your property taxes. But, you know, you've just eliminated $1,000, $2,000 a month of expenses by paying off your mortgage. That's freedom. That is a level of freedom and enjoyment of your life that is going to noticeably impact your life, like, in the coming years. So yeah, there's just I guess we're kind of getting stuck on this topic a little bit, but it really can't be understated. Bull market tops come at you in ways you don't expect, and they trap you. And the people that help to push these leveraged, massive parabolic pumps are also the same people that put the narratives out there that convince you that you don't want to sell, that convince you that 100K Christmas is coming soon, bro. Cool. 3 years later, you know, they've been waiting 3 years, and these bros have had to learn the time value of money. So yeah, just really trying to impress that upon people. So thanks, Alaska, for your comment, for tipping 0.0049 Monero. And then I'm going to go to the Monero talk one here. So I won't be able to read you that are on the MoneroTopia XMR chat. Okay. Have we read these? There's Hawk to a Girl, Just a Man. We should cover all these if we didn't get to them yet. What do you guys think?
Hawk 2 is like a story in its own.
Yeah.
I don't really know anything about it. I just saw that it pumped for like a very incredibly short period of time, and it got rug pulled very fast.
Okay, I'll just read these. I don't think we've covered them. Bruce Lee's comment looks like that's an old one. Favorite edibles, Just a Man. Okay, so we'll start with the Hawk to a Girl comment. I don't know if you guys want to put that one up on the screen. Hawk to a Girl tipped 0.0052 XMR, and she says, I rugged investors on Hawk for 50 million, and people saw exactly what happened because it's an open ledger. Should have launched it on Xano, right? Hawk to a Girl could have completely rugged her investors, and all the people that helped her rug her investors or her followers. But it would have been harder to see on chain if only she had done it on Xano. Okay, and then we have the Maker.
The problem is I can't bring it up on screen because it was through the Monero. So If you guys tip at xmrchat.com/MoneroTalk, I should be able to bring it up on screen now.
These are
I
the
hope.
ones that are on Monero Talk.
Oh shit! So they're not coming up either.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
You know,
about that.
actually, so I think we mentioned it slightly earlier in the show, but just to recap for the price report segment. Yeah. So the Hawk2A girl, look her up. We're not gonna reenact it here on stream. It'd be a little bit gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Anyways, just pull a Seinfeld reference. Yeah, she gained notoriety in the. She was famous for her sexual comments, which were tantalizing, but also seems like there was a lot of penguin clapping among the simps for Hawk2A girl. It was kind of weird, whatever. So she monetized that, leveraged it into Hawk2A coin. HAWK, don't go buy it. I shouldn't even be shilling it. Anyway, so they launched and had like a $500 million market cap for like 2 minutes or something. And then they just they sold everything. Like they dumped like 80% of their supply onto the market and rugged everyone for like, it was only a few $1 million. That was the weird thing. If they had sold slowly and like kept up the hype and everything, like now is the opportunity for that. And they just completely just rugged in like the worst way possible. They didn't even maximize their own gains, which is weird to me. Like that's what I couldn't quite connect. Like what's going on there in the background, that they shot their own selves in the foot. They had probably a 10, maybe even a $50 million actual rug pull. I didn't really look into the numbers, so maybe they got more than I realized. But it's regardless. When you're a founder and you're like Ripple and you slowly rug over the course of many years, you're going to make a lot more money than if you rug over the course of like many minutes, right? Anyway, so that's what happened with Hawk. Okay, the Maker 117 said, "Take my Monero. I look forward to smithing many items for the Monero community." No, sir. You take my Monero. I want some of your smithed items. Sounds cool, like a belt buckle. That would be pretty cool. Maybe, I don't know, a necklace or something. Okay, let's.
Did you see the? I have one more shit coin. Somebody created a Monero Chan on Ethereum.
Oh, good.
And it was, I think it was like Monero Bull and Crypto Bear.
I think that's a great idea, actually. I think that's really good marketing. Releasing Monero shitcoins on Ethereum.
I know, it's like an in and out, and what they want to do is they want to because like ETH gas fees are like retarded, right? They want to have an atomic swap between Monero and Monero Chan on Ethereum, and that's partially why they chose Ethereum, because atomic swap between Monero and Ethereum is possible, right?
Okay.
So it's actually kind of interesting.
100% support the project. Have they been on MoneroTopia or Monero Talk? We should like have them on, pick their brain.
We needed an atomic swap between Monero and like a stable coin.
Yeah.
USDC.
Yeah.
Preferably the C and not the T, right?
I think what you mean to say is the alleged stable coins need an atomic swap into the real stable coin.
Correct.
Amen.
Stable coin no longer. We broke out finally.
It depegged
yeah.
towards the upside.
Yeah, usually stable coins are depegging towards the downside. So
it's like, yeah.
All right. So I think let's see, covered Pirate Chain. We covered Zcash. We didn't fully finish Zcash. So Zcash, I was going to say that probably this is your level to shoot for. It's your target. Seems like it's
what's the
taking a
deal
little
with
break with Zcash. What do you mean? Like they're pumping?
Yeah, like
they only did 200% since the middle of September. Just a measly 200%. Yeah, so the corporate alleged privacy coin, is pumping. All right, cool, good for them, whatever. I mean, that's of course after they just have had a chart that was just death for like 2 years. They were down like 5%. But anyways, yeah, you can see the blue bands up here. The upper standard deviations, right? This is the place to shoot for if you're holding Zcash. If you made a Zcash play, yeah, you probably want to tag, right here, somewhere around that lower boundary, that lower edge is where you would sell. Again, guys, don't get greedy. Like, You know, if you're looking for places to sell and you're like, yeah, well, this looks like a spot, but I'm gonna set my order a little bit higher because I'm greedy. Bro, if you just made 200% gains, does it really fucking matter if you made 230% gains? It does not. So take your money. It's never wrong to take profit, unless you're taking it out of Monero. Then it's like actually it's morally atrocious to ever take profits on Monero. Quote me on that. Obviously, just kidding. Fuck, I hate having to say that on stream, you know, because it's funnier if you just don't say you're joking. Anyways, okay, here's Bitcoin. Here's Daddy Coin, whatever. Bitcoin's doing good, broke 100,000 this week. We are now looking at the regression analysis. So the red line here is the upper price boundary. Guys, I really do believe that this is modeling a real economic phenomena. I think that like this is a statistical modeling of something real that's taking us out there. It's like the leverage price, the maximum leverage fraud price, whatever, propped up price of Bitcoin. I think that's what's being modeled here. Let's go to the BLX chart. That's the full chart. So it's not that Bitcoin has to obey my statistics. It's that my statistics are revealing in the fuzzy, nebulous world of reality. I think that these statistics are identifying a real economic process at work. So as we approach this red line is when you DCA out of Bitcoin. That's really what you want to do.
Looks like the chats are working now, by the way, at
okay, I see.
xmrchat.com/MoneroTalk.
Sojourner tipped 25 cents. Thanks for everything y'all do. Thanks for watching, Sojourner. Appreciate the tip. Yeah, so we've got Bitcoin here. We're about halfway in between the blue band. The blue line is basically the overall regression analysis. The blue line actually isn't as valid as I would like to. I can't really claim that to be super duper valid. It's valid in a certain kind of way, but it's not clean. The upper boundary and the lower boundaries are pretty clean. The green line and the red line are fairly clean lines. The lower boundary, not quite as much. I had to make a couple arbitrary decisions that slightly affect it, but it doesn't majorly massively affect it. I have to recalculate the green line now because this was the bottom, right? That was the bottom. And this calculation, the green line does not include this data set right here, or the bottom point down there. So I'll need to recalculate that at some point. That will actually pull the green line slightly higher when I do. So the green line, the lower boundary of Bitcoin price will now be affected slightly more to the upside because we only came within like, I think it was like 9% at the best here. That was like a 9% gap. But I mean, when you're talking about a process that goes up by 1,500% on a single run from bottom to top, getting within 10% of that boundary is phenomenal. It's incredible, guys. Like I can't, it's hard to overstate how incredible it is to be off by only 10% when you have a process that moved by 1,500% from bottom to top. So anyways, yeah, the thing is we want to start keeping this line in mind. We've now kind of reached that point where it's like, okay, it looks like Bitcoin is clearly in a bull market. Let's go to the monthly candles. One of the things I've said for a long time is that I won't consider Bitcoin to actually be in a bull market until we close 2 months above the previous all-time high. Well, here we are. Bitcoin is closed at least 1 month above the previous all-time high after languishing for like 7 months. Okay, you know, it happens. That's how price action works sometimes. We're in a bull market. I know the second month hasn't closed, but guys, it seems to me we're almost certainly bound for the upper boundary here. We're headed towards this red line. As far as I know, it could happen in January. With the way things are moving, I would almost expect this thing to hit that upper boundary in January, and that is sell territory. That is sell point. Like we just talked about earlier, you know, you probably have life-changing gains at that point. So let me see. Someone's asking for the link of this chart again. Let me show you. Let me show you something. If I can find it. Where do I need to go? Oh, Bitcoin had a flash crash. I almost forgot that. We have a lot to talk about, guys. I'm sorry. I feel if I'm dragging on too long, we don't have a guest this week, do we? So I could probably like drag on slightly longer than normal. But if not, you know.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you're good.
Cool. I mean, we're kind of taking our time, you know, we're just chit-chatting mostly. So if you go to Bounty Anarchist on TradingView, just search for Bounty Anarchist and go to my scripts, you can see the BTC USD regression price boundaries. You know what? I'll just grab this. I'll just copy the publication link and send it to you right here. All right, that's in the YouTube comments. So you can go there. You can add it to your charts. It's free. I also published the Z-scores. So last week, right after we got off the horn, I published the Z-scores. we won't. Things are already long in the tooth already. We don't need to talk about exactly what z-scores are, but effectively they are a statistical metric that tells you where is the price relative to the moving average, right? You're asking how many standard deviations away is the current price from the moving average. So a price on the z-scores, a price of 0 means that the price is at the moving average. And there's multiple lines here because you would ask which moving average, right? So the orange line here is shorter term moving averages. The blue line is obviously a longer term moving average, which is why it moves slower. Z-scores, they behave a lot like RSI. So if you know how to use RSI, basically use similar concepts, divergence. Z-scores can help you identify when a market trend is happening or when a trend reversal is in progress. It also, you'll notice, look, this is a price of 0, and it kind of oscillates between 2 and 4 or whatever. These are, again, this is standard deviation levels, but it's a different way of looking at it. And so what it helps you do, one thing that z-scores help you do is normalize prices that have very different price levels. Like gold has a price of, say, 2,000, and Ripple has a price of, like, I don't know, 50 cents or something, or 20 cents. So how are you going to compare Ripple and gold next to each other? You can divide them, sure, but if you want to overlay them, then you're going to have this problem where it's like, well, one is like a totally different price. You can look at their z-scores. You can overlay their z-scores because they both trend to 0. They both oscillate around the 0 point. So you can actually look at them at the same time. And that's actually taking a little break. That's actually what we do. These are all z-scores right here. These are I believe they are the 100-day z-score. Yeah, these are the 100-day z-scores of the various boomer shitcoins. And so you'll notice they all oscillate around the 0 point. So it enables us to say which ones are performing better than the other ones. Now, it's a relative performance to its own history, right? It's not saying, like, for example, if Doge has a shitload of volatility and Monero has very little volatility, you might see a similar standard deviation pump in Monero, where Monero pumped really high, right? 4.5, you can see on the right here. That's 4.5 standard deviations above its current moving average, the 100-day moving average. Whereas for Doge, because it has so much more volatility, that's more like a 400% on Doge. But different assets have different volatilities, right? So you kind of like, in terms of how well Monero is doing relative to itself, this is a big deal, right? That was a big pump for Monero's relative price performance. So it's kind of a mouthful. If you really are interested in z-scores, I definitely 100% recommend getting on YouTube and watching some videos about moving average, moving standard deviation, and z-scores. You really want to understand the underlying mathematical concept. This is not PhD level math, right? This is not cryptography. This is like basic pleb level, engineering level math you would have taken, like as an undergrad engineer. And it's really not that hard. It's based on simple stuff like multiplication and division, a little bit of square roots, things like that. But it's you can understand it, right? If you sit for a moment, you can definitely understand it, and it will serve you. Understanding these concepts will serve you in the long run. Okay, so back to Bitcoin. Yeah, the point, guys, on this chart is that I really am entertaining the possibility that we're actually gonna touch this red line maybe in January, right? Maybe like Q1 next year. I really think it could happen sooner than later. That's tentative, right? I'm not really like advocating that, but it's tentative. It could happen. All right, so let's go back to the regular chart and let's turn on the wave magic, see what's going on there. Basically, we're just hanging out at the top of the purple bands. Oh, that's the weekly. There we go, daily. Yeah, effectively, Bitcoin is now inside of an uptrending and upsloping purple band range. So these purple bands are going to continue to do this. You can kind of see, let's go down to the 4-hour, you'll see it better. You can kind of see where, on the very short term, you've got like another range there that's headed up, right? And then obviously you've got the bottom there. So Bitcoin has like all of this range to play with. Anything inside its range is still bullish, right? Like hypothetically, Bitcoin could crash down here to like 84,000, and that would still be bullish, right? That's not a big deal. Like if Bitcoin takes a big drop, like that's not a big deal. The thing can still come back here and go to the top side. You just kind of overall expect it to trend up like that. Okay. Now I was kind of hoping that the wave magic levels, the sort of predicted wave magic levels, would coincide with the regression analysis. So let's actually just overlay them. So this is one of these things that it's really powerful if you can get two separate, like very different types of TA indicators and they're saying the same thing. It's kind of like we talk about correlating the TA and the fundamentals together simultaneously. Those are taken together, painting the same picture is much more powerful than either one of them solo. anyway, so the point here is that I was really kind of hoping that we could see the purple bands, kind of intersect with this. If that happens, that will be a really, really good spot for us to say it's time to sell. All of the maxis will be mad at me, and Twitter will tell me how wrong I am, probably again. But you guys know better, because we did this whole thing 4 years ago when we first got introduced to each other. So yeah, that's what Bitcoin's looking like. It looks still bullish to me. That doesn't mean that it can't take a pullback, but in general, this thing probably has more to run unless we get the big macro crash. But that's still, it's all the signs are there, but it's not imminent, right? It's not like it's not happening. It's not incipient. The signs are there. It could happen kind of almost at any time now. Like the signs could push us over the edge, and we should be able to see that in real time, but it's not here yet. Okay, so anyways, Bitcoin dominance, you can see we talked about this last week. It was in this channel for a long time. It didn't quite make the upper standard deviation bands there, right? Like it almost just barely almost quite made it. And this is something that you have to be aware of when playing with wave magic. You're not always going to hit these bands. We came within 1%, right? So that was pretty close, but it didn't quite hit it. Probably a factor in that was the Tornado Cash development, right? And then also Gary Gensler. So right around this time, it was like a couple weeks ago, we said, hey, Gary Gensler has tendered his resignation for January 20th. And that was probably one among a couple things that set the altcoin run into motion, right? You had the Bitcoin, you had the Tether expansion, you had the Bitcoin clearly new all-time highs, finally convincingly breaking all-time highs, combined with altcoins starting to pop off. And then you've got the news events, right? Tornado Cash had a good development. And then Gary Gensler tendered his resignation. All these things together, it was like, okay, it's time for altcoins to run. And now altcoins, Bitcoin dominance has lost its channel here. And so this is the point where, we basically had to suffer the maxis all this time telling us how shitcoins were dying to Bitcoin. Shitcoins are always dying to Bitcoin in the lead up to a bull market, as Bitcoin, as the pattern that we well know. It's Bitcoin first, and then the altcoins follow once everyone's convinced that the bull market is on. And so from now, it looks like, yep, we're probably going to see continued altcoin gains. What's insane is the kinds of market caps that some of these coins are going to have. Like, we could literally be looking at Doge at $1 trillion or $2 trillion of market cap, guys. I hate to fucking say that on stream, but that's just the reality of what could be happening here. Some of these market caps are going to get insane. Again, people probably have the 4-year cycle in their head. It makes a lot of sense to me to top out in January or maybe February or something like that, and actually like have a very quick and like a strong but quick bull market that ends quickly and just leaves a lot of people with their pants down. So, okay. Yeah, that's what's going on there with the Bitcoin dominance. Probably this thing has more to fall. The altcoins have more to run. One trick, let me show you guys a little trick when dealing with the maximalist. Let's go to quad 2. Quad 2. Hey, no, that's the wrong screen. Quad 2, because I have another thing on quad 1 that I want to show you guys. Bitcoin had a flash crash. We need to look at that. Look, let me show you a cool, clever little trick to do when you're talking with the maximalist and they're like showing you charts about how things dying to Bitcoin. What you do, instead of saying like Doge BTC, right? Normally you type in Doge BTC. Instead, type in BTC USD divided by Doge USD. And then change your log. You should be in logarithmic, but if you want to be a scumbag, just go over here to regular. And then what you're doing now, what we're looking at is Bitcoin's price relative to Doge. This is how well Bitcoin is doing relative to Dogecoin. So when it's going up, that means Bitcoin is doing really well. And when it's down, that means Bitcoin is dying to Dogecoins. And you can see Bitcoin is basically at its all-time lows relative to Dog. Like, this chart is death. Bitcoin will forever die to Dogecoins. It only did slightly better here in the bull market, but ever since the bull market of 2021, Bitcoin has basically just never recovered relative to Dog. So Doge is going to kill every Doge is going to consume. Yeah. It's a black hole vortex of encrypted Doge Dog energy that's just consuming Bitcoin. Sorry, Maxi. Sorry, bros, but that's just what the chart says.
Wow, what do they have to say about that, huh?
Yeah, mic drop.
But it's Elon Musk.
They get upset and they make excuses and they go into rage mode when you
Bitcoin really is a religion. Satoshi is their god and Bitcoin is Jesus Christ.
Amen. Or Harikari or something. whatever they want to. I guess they're all kind of they are kind of Christian actually. There's definitely some more Christian bros in the Bitcoin community. Not that there's anything wrong with not to knock Christianity at all. Just for the record, that's not what I was trying to say there. Okay, so let's take a look at what happened. Say what?
That was a comparison I was making, because it's like, it's funny when you look at it. It's like, oh yeah, really, Satoshi is like, they worship him and they worship Bitcoin.
Yeah, that is kind of a little bit of an incongruency there, to be a Christian, but then to kind of have this like religion, this idol. Like if you're a Christian and you're a maximalist, yeah, and you really have this kind of like idolization thing going on. Like Bitcoin is going to save humanity. It's like, bro, like there's nothing that can save humanity except for the Christ within, obviously. So it's like, all right, guys. Anyways, enough bashing on the maximalists. Well, let's go back to Bitcoin, because there one that we still need to cover with Bitcoin. There was a flash crash, guys. This is not good. This isn't as bad as the flash crash that happened in 2021. So to be long-winded about it, let's rewind back to 2021. It was October, and there was a big flash crash that happened across like multiple exchanges on Bitcoin, because somebody smashed the market sell on $100 million worth of Bitcoin, and markets crashed within 1 minute, within the span of like 60 to 120 seconds across multiple exchanges. The markets crashed between 10 and 25%, something like that. And then it recovered, but it shouldn't have happened. And that was like, we were basically at the top. October 2021, November 2021 was the top. And I remember seeing that, and it happened twice in the same week. And I was like, that should not happen in a highly liquid market with lots of buying pressure, right? If the order books were stacked and it was a deep market, a liquid market with lots of buying pressure, so that we were about to get to 100K, that shit wouldn't happen. There would be far too many buy orders on the books for that to happen. And yet it happened twice in a week. And I said, guys, I even posted on Reddit cryptocurrency. I said, guys, this is like, they're being nice to you here. They're screaming at you that this is the top. You're not making 100K. For the love of God, take some profit right now before like before you slap yourself in a few months. But everyone hated me for saying it, but whatever. Anyway, the point is that the flash crash, we had a flash crash. This wasn't like too terribly bad. It was notice on the left here, we're on 5-minute charts. So it took a little bit longer to happen. It was to the tune of about 7%. For the most part, you can see we have Coinbase, Bitfinex, Kraken, and Binance pulled up. Obviously, there's other exchanges to look at, but these are kind of the big ones. So it was a flash crash that happened really more so in the span of about 5 minutes altogether. We went down to the minute chart here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I mean, about 3 to 5 minutes here overall flash crash. So the last one that happened was like a 60-second flash crash. This was like a 5-minute flash crash. And the total volume of it was about 2,500 Bitcoin, which would be about $250 million. So it wasn't nearly as bad as the one that happened at the top of the market in 2021, in October 2021. But it's still not good. Like you really don't want to see a flash crash like this off a $250 million market sell. To cause this kind of negative price action. You would hope that the markets would be a little bit deeper, a little bit more liquid, especially in light of TFs, and supposedly, everyone's adopting. It's not a good sign. That doesn't mean it's the top, but it raises an eyebrow, and it makes you think that we might be closer to the top than people would expect, right? Another thing that I wonder is that, is it possible that my regression analysis might be intentionally broken? I feel like Binance knows who we are, right? We expose their lies. We expose their bullshit. It would not surprise me if Binance and some of the cabal actually knows who we are and have seen the Bitcoin power law. I mean, so I have the regression analysis that's correct, but the Bitcoin power law that you've seen floating around, it's just like, it's a poorly done version of what I've done, but it's actually pretty close, believe it or not. It's possible that that enough visibility is getting onto these price boundaries. So let's go back here. Let's go back to that enough visibility.
25 cents. Sign the petition for free. Yep, freerogernow.org.
Oh, okay. Sorry. We'll say that one more time. I think I was over talking you for a second.
Prancing tip 25 cents. Sign the petition for free. www.freerogernow.org.
Thank you, Prancing. Prancing tipped.
I think I signed that a couple months ago.
Let's see. Let me add the regression analysis. Okay, so what I'm trying to get at here is that it would not surprise me in the slightest if the top actually comes a little bit sooner than this red line. Like in 2021, I sold before the red line because I was like, listen, I don't know. I was still pretty new to it. Like I was still kind of getting my bearings, but I sold early. I didn't hit the perfect top, even though I kind of knew when the perfect top happened, because I was like, again, it's that don't get greedy. Don't try and nail the perfect top for the most part. Like take the money and run. If you have good profits, just take those profits and be happy with them. I didn't sell at the perfect top, but I did call the perfect top. So it's kind of like this weird dichotomy. Like, I just wanted to keep myself safe. So again, I would probably, what you want to do again, Alaska mentioned this earlier in the super XMR chats. He said, sell on the way up, right? Like take profit, right? You sell in staggered levels because that way, it's a little bit more responsible. You're overall going to do a better job of getting into and out of positions by placing 3 to 5 buy orders all the way down or all the way up. So, but yeah, we had the flash crash. That's not a good sign. That doesn't mean the run is over. It wasn't nearly as bad as the one that happened in 2021, but it's there. It needs to be on your mind. It's an important mental note that needs to be made, and you need to keep that in the back of your mind. Okay. I think we're getting pretty close here to everything we need to talk about. ETH BTC looks like it's making a comeback, but it sure has a long way to go before it could do that. But Bitcoin dominance has a long way to fall, right? Bitcoin dominance could make it all the way down here, right? That's 28%. Whether ETH
Uh-oh. Did we lose body? Looks like we may have lost body.
Oh no!
for a second, I think.
Oh
wait,
there
he's
he is.
back.
Welcome back. Let's see if I can.
Okay.
There we go.
I guess that Mexican internet faulted. They just like to do that.
UPS kicked in.
No, the electricity's fine. I didn't get an electricity flicker, but Total Play just likes to drop out every now and then. Yeah, okay. So shitcoins, you can see XMR is not a shitcoin, but I included on the list just so we can make a relative comparison. We have pumped the Z scores here. Everything else is just kind of trending sideways. Tron had a mega pump this week. That was actually, that was nice. Tron pumped a little bit. Tron is important still, guys, because USDT still has a shitload of Tron, or a shitload of USDT that operates on top of Tron. Boy, that's a mouthful. So yeah, Tron's going to remain relevant into the future. It's not going to be one of these chains like what is it, DRX, like Tezos or whatever. It's not going to be one of these platforms that slowly dies forever. But because Tether operates on, so it's going to continue to be relevant into the future. Okay, macro stuff. There's not too much macro happening. I mean, obviously, macro happens all the time. It's effectively the space-time by which all other assets exist inside of whatever far out the economic philosophy. Yeah, we don't need to look at Dixie. Nothing happened there. Nothing happened with gold either. Gold is still kind of trending near its near that resistance level that we talked about. The 1980. The one that started in 1980, still kind of trending there. It would make sense. Why would gold perform? People are seeing crypto. Everyone's going to go get into crypto right now. So why are people going to get into gold at this precise moment? I was kind of hoping that we would see more gold action. Maybe the next gold pump basically might have to wait for the macro crash and then the liquidity expansion before that thing really takes off. Who knows? It's difficult for me to think gold is going to perform here in the short term. So just know that. The reverse repos are continuing to go down, down, down. They've got 130 billion left in the reverse repos. And I think that's still effectively driving stock market gains. You can see that the S&P here has put on new all-time highs as of this week. So the S&P is just continuing to go up steadily. That's what they like. They want the stock market to usually just kind of go up steadily. The NASDAQ has put on new all-time highs as of the past couple of weeks. So again, it feels like these reverse repos are probably helping to fuel that. And these are close to running out, but they really seem to be maximizing their value. Okay. Oil is another big one. Oil is just barely hanging on. We've talked about oil. Once it drops out of trend, that's one of these incipient signs. We're like, hey, when we see oil, you can see I've drawn a couple new lines down here. When we see oil, and this is the weekly chart, when we see oil dropping down into this range, That's when I'm like, it's incipient, right? It's happening. It's starting. The reason is that if people think a recession is coming and manufacturing is going to slow down and economy is going to slow down, what are we going to use less of? Energy. So what's going to fall in price? Bill, right? So this is kind of one of these charts that the insiders, there are inside moves being made on this chart right now in preparation for some kind of macro event, most likely. And especially the final confirmation that we need is to see this thing down here. That is insiders making their plays to position themselves for a macro crash. And it's one of these charts that people don't really look at that much. Like, yeah, people look at it, but they're not looking at it in the sense for the macro crash like we're looking, like we're busy looking here at the bonds. Like we're all like, I'm looking at this, we're looking at this, and everybody else is looking at this because everybody knows that the yield curve inversion correcting back towards the positive is a telltale sign of some kind of macro crash. So everyone's looking at this chart. We have a little bit of edge here, I think, in the fact that we've identified this oil chart, the pattern that oil starts crashing just before the big stock market crash, the risk asset, the crypto, the stocks, the NASDAQ, the tech stocks. That stuff crashes, but only just a little bit after the oil movement gets going. So we've got a little bit of an edge here to identify this macro crash whenever it happens. It looks to me like it's very possible that this crypto run could happen before the macro crash, which would be crazy to me. But, that's why you got to position yourself in a way that you can win, even if the market does something you didn't quite expect. I wouldn't have expected the crypto bull market to smash like it's just pumping like this. I wouldn't have expected that before the macro crash, but here it is, right? So this is why you need to have positions that keep you in the market, different stokes in the fire, whatever, right? Like you need to have different sticks in the fire. So when this happens, you don't get totally left behind, right? Okay, so that's oil. Again, big thing that we got to look at. And the last thing we'll look at here is the civilian unemployment, which we had some new numbers. This guy ticked up just a tiny little bit. And that is again, it's confirmation that, okay, it looks like unemployment still wants to tick up. It does look like it's still, because this chart, if you remember like a month ago, we were saying, hey, it's kind of taking a break, 1, 2, 3 months here, and it hasn't gone up. Maybe. This would be kind of like a contrary part, like against my thesis of the macro crash. It would be one data point, but we have a tick up here. If we get another tick up again, that's pretty much a foregone conclusion that it's coming. Again, unemployment spikes, it starts spiking, then the crash happens, and then it spikes some more. Typically, that's the pattern. So it's called the SAHM rule, SAHM. Look it up if you're interested in that. Let's check the chats here, make sure that we not missing anybody. Anderson says U.S. oil is still jumping around that danger zone. Yeah, exactly. In fact, it's this chart looks to me. Let's go down to the daily. This chart looks very much to me like something that wants to break down and that like is trying not to break down. Like this chart is like, we're fucked. Oh, let's pretend like we didn't know, but we actually did break down, and now we're like trending. Oh God, we can't keep it up, and then it's gonna, they're just unable to perform there. So that's what this chart looks to me. I know I kind of like anthropomorphize the chart. Excuse me for doing so. But sometimes you just gotta go with the feels. Feels before reals. Sometimes feels are the reals. You just got to know what the difference is. But yeah, this chart feels like it's trying not to break down, and it's eventually going to break down. So at least that's my thesis. That's what I got for you guys today. Gold is not an investment. It manifestate. Eman with the manifestation says gold is not an investment. It's a guarantee of wealth. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it's how you store wealth. There's a reason that central banks hold a shitload of gold on their balance sheet, because they know that it's how you store wealth, right? They know they're printing a shitload of money, so they know they need a peg that that keeps them going. But then again, gold is your reserves, guys. Like gold is not going to make you rich. Probably there will come some point with a macro reevaluation of gold where it just pumps to the moon. And then everyone's going to want to try and catch that cocaine high again, and they're not going to be able to, because gold doesn't do that except for once a decade, once every 2 decades maybe. So gold is your reserves, and you want to have your reserves be like 5 to 10%, maybe, right? 5 to 10% of your net. In a bear market, maybe that goes to like 50%. But gold is your reserves. You don't necessarily want to think you're about to get rich on gold, but it keeps you in a position that's difficult to defeat. And Sun Tzu, the Chinese warrior philosopher, said that first put yourself beyond the possibility of defeat, and only then go out to seek to defeat your enemy. So gold is kind of like that. First putting yourself beyond the possibility of defeat. If everything crashes and goes to hell, gold suddenly will get reevaluated higher, right? If we had like some really true beyond the medical intervention of the economy that happened in 2020. Something like if something truly epic to the economy happens, gold will be your will kind of be your lifeboat. Because you can't even guarantee that the internet's going to be up in a lot of situations, right? Like we could have spotty internet and we might lose cryptocurrency for some period of time. That could happen, guys. Like that's legitimately can happen. So I'm not trying to say that it will happen. I'm just saying that gold has a part in your portfolio, probably 5 to 10% typically on average. Just to sort of echo what a manifestation said there. Okay, guys. I think with that,
Buddy, when you were wait, hold on, let me switch my mic here. When you were saying, hold on, give me 1 second. There, that should be better.
Smash the like.
When you were saying you tend to move your crypto profits into gold, what means are you using for that? You're moving it into gold-backed stable coins, or
yes, all of the above, right? There are gold bullion vaults. So people like third-party custody is terrible, and it's like, well, actually third-party custody, there was a good reason that was invented, and it still lives, because third-party custody can protect you from yourself in a lot of cases. So it's also geopolitical risk arbitrage, right? Geopolitical risk management. So you can have a gold bullion vault in some other country, right? I don't want to necessarily give any names, but they're out there, like they're obvious. I guess Money Metals is an easy one. It's in the States, so you might.
That's direct. You could do essentially direct from crypto into. Can you do from Monero into gold using one of these services?
Money Metals in the United States has Monero listed. Actually, let's just go check them out.
We got to get them on XMR Bazaar.
Actually, yeah. Hell, you might even want to try and get them on the show. Let's check out Money Metals here. Let's do moneymetals.com. They are a reputable gold bullion vault. Where can we see? All right, let's just buy something. Let's buy American Eagle, whatever. Add to cart. Let's go check out, and let's see. Because they have Monero on here. Mm-hmm. They used to have Monero, and I want to see if you can actually use Monero. Okay, whatever. Payment method. God dang it. We got to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, forget it. Let's just go back. But okay, Money Metals is one of the places that they have offered, they offer crypto, gold, silver for crypto. They had Monero listed, but there was some kind of question as to whether they actually accepted Monero. So if you're interested, guys, check it out on your own time. I don't want to drag the show on here trying to make this work.
Do they KYC as you do? They KYC, I assume, right?
Well, I mean, if you're going to have them store your gold in their bullion vault or ship it to you,
yeah.
They don't KYC you though. Like if you want to buy gold for crypto, you could hypothetically ship it to your friend's house or your mom's house or something like that.
Really?
I mean, it's still that would only be pseudo anonymous at best.
Yeah, I'm gonna dox my friend instead of myself.
The IRS comes knocking on their door, and they're like, "I didn't do it. It was my friend."
Right, but you're actually not, because I'm surprised. So how are they dealing with money transmission?
I mean, it's so gold occupies a unique space in that, they don't have to, they don't have to obey all of these crazy KYC AML laws that the bank system does.
But if you these cash for gold places that you see all over the place, like here in New York, I know they have to follow Bank Secrecy Act stuff. They pretty much have to KYC over certain amounts and whatnot.
Oh, when you buy gold, you don't have to there's no KYC. You can just pay fiat and get the gold, and you can do it at almost any amount. I believe though when you sell gold is when they KYC you.
Okay.
There's Money Metals here. This is a US based gold bullion vault, and they will sell you gold. They'll ship it to you with UPS or whatever. Singapore is another popular place that people, because Singapore is pretty heavily regulated, and all that stuff, and they don't typically just bounce out with people's cash. But again, you can send them Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether. You can just straight up pay crypto and buy gold bullion and store it in their vault. for crypto. So that's a good way to move between. If you play in shitcoins, you got shitcoin gains on like Ethereum, then go to PaxG, right? If you want to hold gold instead of fiat, go to PaxG. And Pax is a US regulated exchange as well that has a gold-backed Ethereum ERC20 token. So that's another easy way to get into gold exposure. Yes, this is all custodial in nature, sure. But
Right.
what do you want me to do? Like, do you just want me to sit down for 80% losses? 95%? No, that's dumb. I will hold Tether instead of 80% losses. I'll hold Tether. So, but we're not talking about losses right now. We're talking, it's the season for gains. There's a time for losses and a time for gains. I think that's what Ecclesiastes said.
I did hear in the Xano community, I think Aaron Day's talking about like a gold-backed stable coin built using Xano. Yeah,
that would be badass.
What is I don't know what they're actually working on or how they're working on that, but that's actually quite interesting. I mean, that's kind of a holy grail there, right? That's what got me excited about Xano to begin with. That it could be the pathway towards creating a private stablecoin, essentially.
I don't see a way to do that without custody. Like I don't see how you're going to have a gold-backed stablecoin without some.
Yeah, of course, there would have to be a custody element. Yeah, it wouldn't be like an algorithmic one. I mean, nobody's cracked that riddle yet.
Yeah.
Do you ever foresee that happening, like a algorithmic private stablecoin, or is that just a perpetual motion machine?
So far, it's been, I don't know, the verdict is mixed on that. DAI was partially algorithmic and partially backed, and that seems to have actually worked for quite a while now. But a purely algorithmic backed stablecoin has been subject to catastrophic total failure, complete loss. So maybe there's been some better developments, in the past few years, but so far that doesn't seem to have worked very well.
Yeah, I mean, what would the one where it was Haven? I mean, Haven, right? And then what's the new Zephyr is the one I see? Like, is that's just like another pump and dump, right?
I don't know. I've heard of Zephyr, but I haven't really looked into it. There is a new stablecoin being launched by the guy that created USDC. Let's see. Nihilist just tipped at $1.23. Bookmark for the news section, https librejo monerodevs.org/syntheticbird/ man, that's a you'll have to read it for yourself.
Yeah, we'll see if we can try to bring that up. Yeah,
but Nihilist tipped $1.23. Bookmark for the news section. Go to the link that's there. Good reminder that privacy is an OPSEC requirement and demands that you only run FOSS software on your computer. Stay sharp, guys. 100%. I would also say just be careful. Just because it's FOSS, just because it's even source available, doesn't mean it's not spyware. You cannot just run the stock Firefox and expect to have any privacy. They ping back to the mothership. They're 95% funded by Google. Firefox is great because it's FOSS, which means that you can go in there and change it and make it better. So LibreWolf is a great example of that. But just know that, you definitely want to stick to FOSS, because if it's not, very, very high likelihood that they're taking advantage of you. But just know that even if it is FOSS, it might not necessarily completely protect you. So try to ask the smart guys. Ask Tux. Ask Seth. Right? These guys, they really stay on it. They really keep up with it. I kind of keep up with it, but I'm not going to lie. More and more, I kind of just rely on what Seth and Tux think, because I know you guys are constantly always looking at that stuff, and sometimes I just don't have the patience to keep up with it, after some period of time. Anyways, yeah.
I'm gonna have to look at that, because someone asked me a question, I guess, related to this drama yesterday about code obfuscation in Flutter. But I didn't know what exactly what's going on in this, so I'll have to take a look through. It's a long thread.
Flutter?
It's the SDK that we use, or the framework we use for Cake Wallet, and I guess for the Havino mobile app, whoever was developing that.
This is what Nihilist was referring to, the drama with Qubit. It was doing something for Havino. I guess he was trying to build a mobile app. Yeah, we could try to go over this in the news. I don't know, Tux, have you been following this?
No, first time I've seen this link.
Okay. There's something with the bounty, and yeah, I haven't been following this. I'm sure people have. They can come up and jump on stage and tell us all about it. I'm sure Shortwave knows all about it. All right.
Interested to hear.
Let's move it along. Body, thank you so much, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Stick
See you
around
next
if you
week.
can, obviously. Yeah.
W
Okay.
price report. W Monero. Monero going up. Obviously, price isn't the most important thing. Because I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, it's like, okay, it's nice that Monero has moved a little bit in the past 2 years since it's moved. It's been 2
Yeah.
years,
Whoa, what did I
something
just
like
do?
that. There you go.
I mean, price shouldn't be our focus, but price should somewhat match adoption, right? As adoption goes up, price should also follow.
Matt,
Yeah.
price is what I always get to is price is important because of
It does matter.
like utility. I mean, Monero gains utility, becomes much more useful the higher the price comes because it's connected
Gets
to
more
liquidity.
traction.
It's connected to adoption. A Monero that's worth $1,000 when one Monero is worth $1,000 US, it's going to be a lot more liquid. You're going to be able to send a lot more Monero, right? I mean, I'm dollars worth of Monero. This idea that I even saw it here in the chat, like, oh, it doesn't matter, Monero still works whether it's $1 or $1,000. I just don't agree with that. I mean, so if it's $0, can we agree it doesn't work at all? Like it gains more utility the more it's valued.
And I think there's a sweet spot to it. I mean, we all seen what happened to Bitcoin. It's just fully captured, and it's now fully a weird speculative asset that,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, can make you a shit ton of money, but it's the only reason it's doing that to the extent it is now is because it's been okayed by the state. And they've kind of captured it in a sense that they're okay with letting it, promoting it, letting it go as far as it can. Versus Monero, well, that's not the case at all.
Yeah.